All right, we're going to talk about lesson 10, in which we add a new tense of the indicative, the imperfect indicative active. So we'll start by reviewing a little bit. Remember the present indicative active, you take that stem from the first principal part and you add personal endings. O, es, a, omen, ete, usen, right? So, paideo, I teach or I am teaching. Paideoes, you teach or you are teaching. Okay. And I teach, that's aoristic. I am teaching, imperfective. The present indicative active can have either aoristic or imperfective aspect. Okay. Both of those are good ways to translate paideo. Now the imperfect indicative active, we're going to take that same stem from the first principal part, paideo. We're going to add a new set of personal endings, on, s, n. Notice a new movable there. So you're going to have the new if the next word begins with a vowel or diphthong or at the end of a sentence. If the next word begins with a consonant, you're just going to have the epsilon there. Omen, ete, on, plus an augment at the front of the word. So epaideon, epaideos. Now the imperfect indicative active, it's a past tense and it always has imperfective aspect. We're going to learn a different past tense later on that has aoristic aspect. So the imperfect indicative active always has imperfective aspect. So I was teaching. So I was teaching, you were teaching, he, she, it was teaching, we were teaching, y'all were teaching, they were teaching. So, stem from the first principal part, personal ending, and augment. When a verb begins with a consonant, we're going to use this epsilon as our augment. We call it a syllabic augment because it adds an extra syllable, epaideon. But when a verb begins with a vowel or a diphthong, we're not going to add a syllabic augment. We're going to lengthen that vowel or diphthong. And so we're going to call that a temporal augment because it makes it take more time to say. So here are the rules for lengthening those initial vowels and diphthongs. And they're pretty easy. It's going to look complicated, but it's actually a pretty easy principle. You take short upsilon, it becomes long upsilon. Short omicron becomes long omega. Short iota becomes long iota. Short epsilon becomes its long version, eta. The one trick is that alpha also becomes eta. Okay, so epsilon, iota, omicron, upsilon, short just becomes its long version. Alpha becomes eta. Now, if a verb begins with a long vowel, generally speaking, there'll be no change except long alpha will become eta because alpha becomes eta when you lengthen it. And long alpha with iota, so alpha iota subscript becomes eta iota subscript. All of these, look, the first vowel just becomes its longer version, okay? The first vowel becomes its longer version. Notice though with a, ow, and o, they might just stay the same instead of lengthening. Okay, so this is the chart you need to know. This is just logic really, although remember that those diphthongs might not change. So let's look at an example from Heorisco. Okay, the first principal part is Heorisco. And when it becomes imperfect, it might not change. But if it does change, this is what it looks like, right? Heoriscon, heorisques, heorisken. Okay, good. Finally, let's talk about correlatives. So the words nen and de, when they are used alone, nen means something like indeed, de something like and or but weaker than Allah. But most often, we're going to see nen with de. So they're going to be contrasting whole clauses or phrases or words. And then we're going to translate nen on the one hand, de on the other hand. And they like to be the second word in their phrase or clause. So, homen hippos, hode onos. On the one hand, the horse is running. On the other hand, the donkey is walking. Okay, so homen hippos, hode onos. Sometimes you'll see them actually with the article. And homen will mean that one, and hode, this one, or the one and the other. And that can happen with the definite article in any gender, number, and case. So temen, teide. Let's look at an example or two here. So here we've got a men and a de. You can see they're each the second word in their clauses. Temen therapaine onus. Te de despoine hippus a pimplemen. We were sending, on the one hand, donkeys to the maidservant, on the other hand, horses to the mistress. On the one hand, we were sending donkeys to the maidservant. On the other hand, we were sending horses to the mistress. Here, te men, te de, a little different. We were sending donkeys to the one, horses to the other. Or we were sending donkeys to that woman, horses to this woman.